Welcome to this year's GIS Day event. My name is Emmanuel. I'm the founder and CEO of Giseria. I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's annual GIS Day event, which is held in partnership with ESRI. And we would like to kick things off by discussing about careers in the geospatial industry. I believe you all have some aspirations in developing some competency in the GIS industry, and I want to have a chat to discuss how the various aspects of the industry can provide employment opportunities and career opportunities for you. So the first is getting started with um, the foundations of GIS, and this is where ArcGIS comes in. ArcGIS is a geographic information system software that allows for GIS analysis and um, mapping and spatial analytics. And with ArcGIS, you are able to build a foundation for geographic analysis and mapping, as well as a host of other functions. So, one of the first steps you have to take in developing a career in geospatial industry is building a solid portfolio with ArcGIS to showcase your knowledge of the geospatial industry, as well as your competency in building spatial products. And this is very key, as most employers within the industry would like to see evidence of your capacity to conduct geospatial analysis and work with various GIS products. Second is being able to understand the various dimensions which geospatial data and location data can be applied, and this is where you know ESRI comes in. So ESRI is one of the leading software providers in the geospatial industry, and they are the pioneers of ArcGIS that published ArcGIS software. Um, so depending on your background, GIS provides a number of opportunities for building geospatial analytics into your core workflows. So I'm going to briefly touch on the different aspects whereby these geospatial workflows can be harnessed. Apologies, our guest today is not going to be available. He had some urgent issues he had to attend to, so a little brief introduction about myself. I started working with GIS about 5 years ago, and I built some competency in cartography, spatial analytics, as well as geospatial analytics, and as well as software development. And over time, I grew into product design and product development, and that was how I developed a passion for building solutions for community as well. And so, what the whole goal of Giseria is all about is to build competencies in geospatial workflows in the grassroots level, as well as for young aspiring industry leaders like yourself, and also um, to build an awareness of community development through the geospatial industry. So, as I was saying, ESRI is a leading GIS provider. They are the producers of ArcGIS, and they provide a range of solutions for building and conducting geospatial analysis with GIS. By going to the ESRI homepage, you can access information about ArcGIS, where to start, how to build a basic understanding of GIS, and to just give you an overview of what GIS is. I'll just take you to a simple overview of their what is GIS page. And if you're a newbie, you can see basic introduction to what GIS is. You can participate in a number of programs and see how to get acquainted with the fundamentals of what GIS is all about. And you can take a look at the various industry use cases that GIS provides. If we are to take a look at healthcare, for instance, we can see immediate examples of GIS applications in the healthcare industry. You see a number of use cases, especially in disaster management, crisis management, and also um, epidemiology, that is using GIS in the study of mapping and spatial analytics. So I'm guessing that many of you are already in some kind of industry, and you have some need with regards to applying location information to your specific industry. And so ESRI provides training and a number of resources that can get you up and running depending on your use case. So depending on whatever industry you are looking to get into, there's always room for location information to play a big role in understanding data and in spatial analytics. So let's take a look at some um, let's take a look at some industry um, demos of what GIS is potentially capable of in the industry.
Contemporary planning process is often viewed as a complicated and fragmented workflow. City planners, architecture firms, and city officials often use disparate, unorganized, and time-consuming workflows. Information is not synced across planners. Development planning process is often viewed as a complicated and fragmented workflow. City planners, architecture firms, and city officials often use disparate, unorganized, lacking the ability to visualize and understand the city at the street level, which can help make smarter planning decisions. Goals, housing. Cities today face major challenges in meeting sustainability goals, housing equity, and climate change resiliency. Meanwhile, the contemporary planning process is often viewed as a complicated and fragmented workflow. City planners, architecture firms, and city officials often use disparate, unorganized, and time-consuming workflows. Information is not synced across planners, developers, and city leaders, causing the urban planning process to take a lot more time, effort, and money. Unfortunately, these workflows are often limited to 2D maps, lacking the ability to visualize and understand the city at the street level, which can help make smarter planning decisions. That's why ESRI has created a 3D web application that streamlines all these workflows for a more efficient urban planning process. ArcGIS Urban is a 3D web experience that orchestrates urban development and planning workflows by streamlining the creation and sharing of land plans alongside the development projects. This helps all organizations involved in the planning lifecycle to coordinate efforts more efficiently using ArcGIS Urban's single city-wide view. By distinguishing projects by size, type, and even development status, ESRI's Smart City Planning tool makes it easier to track building development and infrastructure. Planners can see where projects are, understand the proposal in its spatial context, and explore important indicators related to environmental constraints. ArcGIS Urban can support your local regulations, enabling planners to author land use and zoning scenarios in a 3D context and provide downstream reporting for key capacity metrics like household units, trip generation, parking, and emissions. ArcGIS Urban provides an interactive overview to coordinate the planning process, improving data consistency and the organization of planning teams. Planners can easily move traditional policymaking towards a more analytical and scenario-driven process, share and review incoming development proposals with stakeholders and the community for valuable feedback, and measure performance indicators citywide, accounting for individual plans and projects. ArcGIS Urban helps organize city and regional planning initiatives for a more holistic urban planning process, so that planning teams can streamline collaboration with local developer and architecture firms and deliver community engagement by providing a way for citizens to review and comment on plans and projects over the web. Become more proactive and less reactive in your planning process. Simplify project collaboration across internal agencies and community stakeholders, and try ArcGIS Urban today.
Okay, so we just looked at GIS for urban planning, which is very useful to.
This is ArcGIS Urban in Introduction. My name is Brooks Patrick. I lead the
city managers and also city planners. So this is very useful if you're looking to get into urban design and management, or you're working with local state government for design planning and also others, city management. So if you're within the urban and regional planning background, you have a background in design or architecture, you might find working with the geospatial design industry very valuable. So I'm going to walk into briefly touch GIS in the healthcare industry, because I believe there's a lot of buzz around GIS in healthcare related to the pandemic and also current coronavirus trends as well. So,
This is ArcGIS Urban in Introduction.
Our goal is to be able to look at how we can take advantage of analysis and visualization to improve awareness when it comes to prevention, in this case specifically using the use of prescription drug drop boxes. So let's take a look at where we have drop boxes. And I have those in a spreadsheet. Let's add those to our list of data. I want to be able to look at those on a map though. So let's go ahead and geocode those. What this is basically doing is translating the text-based addresses to actual locations on the ground. So now let's take those and put them in a map. So you see we have pretty good distribution of drop boxes throughout the Commonwealth. Now let's look at the communities where we can have the most impact by increasing awareness and use of drop boxes. So if we look at who we want to start with, which communities, we want to look at those that have the highest risk of use of prescription drugs. I'm going to use data provided by the Commonwealth to at least get a start on figuring that out. It is substance abuse treatment admissions. One of the things that's recorded is the primary drug, and I'm going to take the communities where the primary drug of 10% or more of substance abuse treatment admissions is other opioids. Let's add those communities to the map. So here we have a subset of communities in Massachusetts, but I want to focus on the communities that already have a Dropbox. So let's go ahead and find those communities, slightly smaller subset. I know the communities that I want to start to focus on, but how do I do that? How do I get to know the population, their behaviors? I'm going to use some ESRI data to figure that out. So I'm going to focus on media use. So for instance, if I was looking at a social media campaign, I could look at how they use the internet. If I was doing TV, radio, or print, I could take a look at that. But since I'm not quite sure where I want to start, I'm going to use data that pulls those different factors together. Something called tapestry. I'm going to add to each community the dominant tapestry. What those tapestry segments are classes that have been modeled based on all of those socioeconomic variables, the behaviors, all those things. Now we still have those communities on the map, but let's take a look at what that means. So first thing I want to do is I want to keep in mind that ultimately what I'm trying to work against is fatal overdoses. I want to reduce those. So let's add a bubble chart to be able to see which communities are hardest hit. So within my communities that use prescription drugs, I really want to make sure that I'm making the most effective use and really going after the towns that have the biggest risk. So right now, each town is represented by a bubble, and the size of the bubble represents the number of overdoses. So I can see that Taunton has the biggest bubble, 14 fatal overdoses in 2015. So now that I know that, I can then take a look at the information I get from that dominant tapestry. So let's take a look at a bubble chart here. And what I'm seeing is that I've got a few different tapestries that are showing up. Green Acres, 4 towns have Green Acres as their dominant tapestry. 6 have Parks and Rec. But if I want to focus on Taunton, front porches, there are 4 towns that have front porches as their dominant tapestry. And what I see is that all 4 of them have a relatively high overdose count as well. So what does that mean? What is front porches? What front porches represents is a segment of the population that gets some information, median age around 34, median household income under 40,000. I also get information about things like what do they listen to? What do they do online? Do they use their phones or not? What do they watch? So based on this information, I can start to figure out how I want to customize or how I want to tailor my outreach efforts. For instance, I probably don't want to put something on country music, or I probably don't want to put something on NPR. I probably want to focus on hip hop or R&B stations. I might do something from a social media perspective, because it looks like they are pretty regularly online as well as using their cell phones. So I can start to do those kinds of things and hopefully make people in the neighborhood more aware of how they can use those drop boxes. Our goal is to be able to look at how we can take advantage of analysis.
So essentially what you just watched is a beautiful example of how spatial analytics and location-based information proved very useful in digging deep and getting a deep understanding of communities and understanding the health crisis in the community by bringing together all the different aspects of data that is necessary to understand a particular problem. And so you can see that there's a lot of data that exists out there that's not yet been captured, that is locational. And what a GIS essentially does is allow you to visualize and map that data to unlock a lot of insights that is not readily accessible to the normal data analyst who just works with one-dimensional data. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I believe we all have other things to do, so I'll leave you to explore the ESRI website and also visit the ESRI YouTube page where you can learn more about the various geospatial foundations that ArcGIS provides. What I will do now is to guide you through the various aspects of the ESRI ecosystem where you could gain a foundation in building a career with the tools that have been provided with ArcGIS. So what we have here is the base website ArcGIS running on the web, which is ArcGIS Online. So ArcGIS Online is the foremost most important deployment, which allows you to interface with advanced GIS capabilities that are beginner friendly and run on the web. And so with ArcGIS Online, when you create an online account, you get to understand GIS from a web perspective, and it's very easy to get started, just like you would get started using any other website. There's a whole lot of ready-to-use data available and tutorials that will get you started in building career, in building skills in GIS. You could also navigate to learn.arcgis.com. You could access their learning hub and see a lot of ready-to-use tutorials that could build the understanding of GIS. I also like to draw your attention to a number of ArcGIS software deployments that are useful depending on your career path. So ArcGIS Pro is the desktop environment for GIS, which allows you to do two-dimensional, three-dimensional GIS analysis on your desktop machine. It requires a Windows operating system, and this is very important if you want to get deep into the core. As you can see, exploration, cartography, design, imagery, and all the core workflows that a GIS can provide. So ArcGIS Pro is very important deployment, and it comes with your essential subscription to ArcGIS Online. Second is the ArcGIS platform, which is very useful for developers. So if you're looking to build a developer career in GIS, you're going to find the ArcGIS platform very, very useful. It's a way to bring in the power of maps and location services to your applications. And what the ArcGIS platform essentially provides you is a suite of ready-to-use maps and spatial APIs that can allow you to build location-based applications. And these APIs could do a lot of functionalities like providing build maps. They allow you to do geocoding and searching. So geocoding is essentially what allows you to be able to search for addresses and places on maps and mapping application. Routing is what allows you to find directions and navigate. And then there are a lot of other APIs that do a lot of things like spatial analytics, just like what you see. And actually, as developer hub is also where you can find resources and documentation on how to use various APIs and SDKs powered with ArcGIS platform, like APIs for running on Android, JavaScript that runs on the web, and a host of other desktop and different other APIs. And so you can see all the features we just talked about, and you can go ahead to learn more about the development in ArcGIS using the various tutorials, as well as read more about documentation to understand how to get started. And I'd like to draw your attention to Giseria's own hub, where we host community. So I figured that a lot of people find navigating with the ArcGIS platform a bit tedious and difficult. And so what we've done with Giseria is bring in the entire GIS learning experience to become very easy with our open data hub and our community. We have made it very easy to get started learning GIS. And so from now on, you're going to have live events on Facebook just like this, where you can connect with members of the community, share what you're learning, share your experiences, and build your skills. As well as you can come into our open data hub, find resources, and learn more about what the community is doing. You can also follow our social channels on Facebook, Instagram, and our Discord channel is very important because we have other members of the community who are on our Discord channel. We have a number of sub-communities where we develop specific competencies in various GIS workflows. So we have our Geo Education community known as an academy, where we build and core competencies for educational practitioners, teachers, and schools to leverage GIS in education. We also have our developer hub, which is our GeoDev Academy. Our creator club essentially focuses on the design and cartographic aspect of GIS. When you join our creator club, you also learn more about how to create beautiful apps that don't require that much code. And if you're not into that, you could also apply to become a geo mentor for your industry, where you could guide other users of GIS in your community or organization. And we also have a volunteer network and a disaster response network where members of the community come together to bring heads together to solve key challenges that are present. And finally, I would like to take you to the ESRI community, where you could also reach out to members of the wider ESRI community if there are aspects of the software or the ecosystem that's confusing to you. You can reach out to the ESRI community for more information. And finally, I would also like to invite you to join Giseria as a member. We are a sustainable development enterprise focusing on leveraging technology for learning and development across communities in Africa. And so when you visit our hub, you'll find open data. And like I said, we're a very, very wide and open community with membership spanning across 3 continents around the world. And the number of training courses from the community that we provide. We implore people to sign up to our community and take our courses. Whether you're an individual or a business, you can get started. All you need to do is subscribe and you get information on when and where these trainings are occurring. So I implore you to visit our website and check more. And with that, I would like to bring this webinar to a close. This live stream may be recorded, and then I would also implore you to follow our social media handles for more information on events, and stay tuned for our GIS Day events, which will also be kicking off fully on Friday, the 19th, which will also be live streamed as well. And so, thank you very much for joining in this session, and happy GIS Day celebrations. And so I would also want you to sign up to our community. And all you need to do is visit bit.ly/join Giseria. And when you sign up, if you are signing up via this event, I would send you a short package from the community as a way of thanking you for joining our GIS Day community as well. Thank you.